Hey there, productivity warriors. Welcome to a crucial episode of Productivity Pitfalls on The Simple Truth with Stuart. I'm your host, Stuart, and today we're navigating the treacherous waters of productivity trends that entrepreneurs must steer clear of. Get ready for an eye-opening journey to boost your efficiency and effectiveness. Now, have you ever felt like your productivity is slipping through your fingers like sand? Well, we've all been there, but fear not. In this episode, we're not just identifying pitfalls, we're providing you with a strategy to avoid them. Consider this your essential guide to staying on track and maximizing your entrepreneurial potential. Think of this as your personal productivity playbook, where we'll dissect the 10 trends that can sabotage your efficiency and hinder your success. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, these insights are your secret weapon to staying ahead of the curve. From succumbing to multitasking, to falling prey to shiny object syndrome, we'll explore the common pitfalls that entrepreneurs face and equip you with the tools to sidestep them with confidence. Because in this fast-paced world of entrepreneurship, every decision can make or break your success. So grab your notepad, perhaps a cup of coffee to fuel your focus, and let's dive into The Simple Truth with Stuart, where we believe that productivity is the key to unlocking your full potential. So let's look at the inspiration and the strategies that will empower you to maximize your productivity and achieve your entrepreneurial goals. So let's keep it simple, keep it real, and let's conquer those productivity pitfalls together. Remember, productivity is not just about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. Welcome. And today I really want to talk about success and productivity. You see, success as an entrepreneur, it's not just about having that brilliant idea or that solid business plan. It's actually about how effectively you can actually execute those plans. And at the heart of the execution lies, well, you've got it, productivity. So I want to share with you why productivity is absolutely crucial for any entrepreneur. You see, productivity, it isn't about being busy, and that's something that you really need to understand. It's about being efficient with the time and the resources that you have every single day. And just remember, every minute of the day actually counts when you're building something from the ground up. So time, in fact, is one of your most valuable assets, and how you manage it can either make or break your success. You see, productivity also allows you to focus on your priorities, and it actually executes those plans with absolute precision. Now, when we start, it is about setting those clear goals. And without those clear goals, you're going to be lost. So this is really the back end of once you've got those goals all put together. And then from there, what you'll need to do is you need to break them down into these actionable steps, and then make sure that you're actually putting them into your calendar, into your schedules, to make sure that you're actually staying organized to do it. Now, there's so many ways that you can actually go about to make sure that it becomes easier for you. And one of them is technology, because technology definitely plays a crucial role in enhancing your productivity. And whether it's in project management tools or automation software, etc., leveraging on those right tools can significantly streamline your workflow and free up some more time to do those strategic tasks. Now, productivity, as I've said before, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And when you're actually working smarter, you're going to then start to surround yourself with the right people. You'll start looking for people like mentors, coaches, etc., because they can actually provide you with that invaluable insights as well as some shortcuts to achieving your particular success. Now, throughout your productivity journey, you do need to make sure that you're tracking your progress and measuring your results because it's absolutely essential for your continual improvement. And this is something that I have with most of my clients is productivity. It's not a one-time effort. It's an ongoing journey. And remember, that journey is comprised of refinement and optimization. You want to make sure that you can get it to that next level. And going through that next level, you must remember that as an entrepreneur, and you are an entrepreneur, productivity, it's going to be your guiding light into where you want to go. It's what actually is going to propel you forward in the face of adversity. So I want you to start to embrace productivity. You harness the power of it and watch it as your dreams actually become reality. But it's not all about doing the right things, because within productivity, there's also a number of incorrect things. And that's what I want to really start to dig into today, is I want to start to share with you, and it's about 10 or so, these productivity and what you should actually avoid. And, spending so much time with my clients, I've had these conversations to get you into productivity. We start with that goal, make sure that it's clear and we understand it. We then identify those particular priorities to achieve that goal. And then we break it down into those actionable steps, things that you can do. Very important. You can do. And then we put that into your calendar, into your schedule, and we start to go forward from there. However, going through this particular journey, I've actually seen that there are a number of elements where we want to expedite our productivity to achieve our success quicker. And as a result, it can actually lead to more failures. And those failures, remember, failures is something that you learn from. So they are good to have. However, you want to make sure that you don't have too many of them that actually is going to start setting you back. So the first one that I really want to share with you, and this was something, having conversations with so many of my clients, is they had this mindset that they needed to work longer hours to be more productive. So what they really wanted to do was they wanted to start earlier. They would get up at 4 o'clock, they would do their gym, and by 6 o'clock, they were starting to work. And they would carry on throughout the entire day. And then it starts hitting to 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and they are still working. And ultimately, they do this on an ongoing basis. They get up on a Saturday and a Sunday, and they're doing the exact same thing. Now, will that help you to achieve your success with high levels of productivity? Well, yes, it's going to give you so much more done in a particular day. However, and there's a big however attached to this, what can actually happen is you can actually start to burn out. And when you start to burn out, you're going to start to do activities that are less productive. In other words, you're going to start doing activities that's not going to be moving you closer to your goal. In fact, you're going to be doing activities that's going to be moving you away from your goals. Why? Because those activities are more relaxing. So you don't want to get to that burnout stage. And on the back of the burnout stage, where you start doing those activities that move you away from your goal, ultimately, it starts creating bad habits. And it's those bad habits as a coach that I try to eradicate. So don't think that you need to put in more time in the day. What you need to be doing, as time is very important, you need to be focused on your time. And make sure that you're doing one element at a time, over time, and that focused element, get it completed. Enjoy the success. Give yourself the gratitude that you've done it. But don't do them back to back from 5 in the morning till 11 at night, because you're going to burn out and you're going to start getting to those bad habits. Now, on the back of that is, well, Stuart, that's great. You're telling me not to do 14 hours a day, so I'm going to condense it into 4 hours in a particular day. And this can then start to lead to another issue, which is then, well, if I'm going to be doing, let's say, all these tasks, I've got 10 tasks that I've got to do in one particular day. Let me compress them into maybe an hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours in the actual day. And I'm going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Ultimately, I'm going to start digressing into multitasking. And multitasking is really something that is an absolute myth when it comes to productivity. Multitasking, in fact, will cost you nearly 27% of your day because you're going to be switching between different tasks. And when I sit down with clients and I say to them, right, let me show me your activity, your schedules, and normally between the morning when they've got all those energies, between the hours of about 8 and 11, they show me maybe 12 or 13 different activities. And I say, well, that's fantastic. Let's walk through. So what did you do at 8 o'clock? And they say, no, from 8 to 8:15, we did this. And then we jumped onto this particular part. And then we jumped back to this part. And in fact, what they're doing is, one, they're tiring themselves out because jumping between all these tasks, their brain just can't comprehend it. Two, they actually started to make errors because they weren't 100% focused. They were trying to do too many things at the same time. And three, ultimately, they didn't even complete it. What happened was they said, no, well, we feel accomplished, but we haven't actually completed anything. And I would then change that to say, right, focus on one, the most important, complete it. Then move on to the next one. And what you're going to slowly find is they're going to work like dominoes. They're going to knock each other over. So multitasking, if you want to condense that 12, 14-hour day down into like 4 or 5 hours, it's not about multitasking. Focus on one priority and get that done. Then move on to the next. That is absolutely imperative. So the next one, the third one that I actually want to talk to you, and this one is actually quite funny because we all do it. We actually, when we open up our computers, we have it on our phone, we have our emails. And for some unknown reason, we seem to check our emails on a really regular basis. And even if there's no emails that come in, we'll open up the email program, we'll have a look at it just to see if there's any emails. And if there's no emails, we'll actually even look at an old email and reread the contents of it for reasons totally unknown to us. So looking at our emails, we do this endless email checking. And one of the key things that I've actually done, and I share it with a lot of my clients, is turn off those notifications for emails, especially on your mobile device. Turn off any form of notifications that come onto your desktop. And in fact, close your emails. So while you're busy with any form of task, make sure that the email program is actually closed. And that can actually extend onto messaging services as well. Make sure they're closed because ultimately what happens is they become a distraction. And in fact, they fall into a multitasking because you're doing your task and then you go, wait, let me just check my email. I click on my emails, I open my email, I read it. Oh, there's nothing there. Great, close it, and I go back. And that time that we actually spend to open our emails, look through, respond if there is possibly one, and then come back, that's actually costing you time towards you achieving your goals. So close down those emails. Make sure that you're not actually spending too much time reading on them. In fact, what you can actually do is first thing in the morning, open your emails, check it, and actually have that as a priority task. Check your emails, everything's done, everything's responded, close it. Work through all your tasks and then say to yourself, right, I've actually set my schedule for 12 o'clock. I'm going to check my emails again and go through that. So don't spend huge amounts of time just keeps on checking those particular emails. Just take that distraction away. It is so, so important. So the next one that I really want to share with you, and this is the fourth one, and this one is actually quite funny because there are so many influencers out in the world and they give us absolutely phenomenal advice. They actually can become almost a mentor. I've used them personally. You're watching their YouTube channels, you're listening to their podcasts, and you're getting so much valuable information, and it is absolutely powerful. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to these particular influencers, but what I am saying is if you are listening to them, whatever they share with you, make sure you're putting into action. So this was actually something that I've done with so many clients. I always suggest identifying an influential person that you can actually learn from. You can be mentored by them in a way of listening to their podcast or watching a YouTube channel, etc. And going through that, I want you to take notes. Once you've finished that, I want you to put that into action. Now, if you don't put whatever you've learned into action, you don't earn the right to watch another episode or listen to another episode. Now, how's that? That is a great challenge to actually put on yourself. So listen to the influencers, watch those particular influencers, take the notes and take one element and put it into action. If you don't put it into action, you don't earn the right to watch one of those episodes. And the reason why I say this, and I've done it with so many clients, is we seem to watch 10, 12, 14 episodes or listen to so many podcasts. We never put it in. It turns from an education to more of something that's entertainment. And entertainment is one of those big distractions. So you're not actually going to be learning something. You're actually just wanting to hear them. And that can actually then push you away from your productivity. So put that as a challenge. If you're listening to influencers, make sure that you're actually taking one bit of information and putting it into action. Absolutely, absolutely key when you're actually going through that. Now, the fifth one is when you are getting information, you can actually then say, right, now I've got 5, 6, 7, I've got 12 different actions that I actually now want to put into my calendar. I want to do so many different things, and you start to plan them. So what you start to do is you start to actually create these times in the day. So at 9 o'clock, I'm going to do this, and at 10 o'clock, I'm going to do this. Wait a minute, I can't do it at 10 because I need an hour and a half for this 9 o'clock session. So I'm going to make it about 2 hours, and you actually spend a day planning. And then you look at your planning and then you say, wait a minute, I can't actually put it in there because I need to move this to the next day because it's better to do it on a Tuesday. And I'm sure you can actually feel a little bit of anxiety as I'm explaining this to you. You see, we can fall into what we call over-planning paralysis. And over-planning paralysis is getting so much information, having a look at all those tasks, all those particular activities, but we actually don't get to doing it. Why? Because we spend too much time planning. And I have this with a lot of my clients where they'll plan for an entire month and then an entire week, and then they're looking at everything right down to the minute in the actual day. And I actually break it down to them and I say, right, let's have a look at the plan and actions that you've got to achieve in this particular week. And let's start by completing one. So in one day, we need to complete one task, start to finish, done. And then we can actually monitor it. This particular task is going to be repeated every day, twice a week, however often in the particular week. And how long do you need? Well, we need maybe an hour, maybe we need 2 hours. Right, now we've identified that. Then we earn the right to move on to the next. And we start to grow our planning calendar in a very slow fashion. You see, it's so important to plan, but when we get into planning paralysis, it actually prevents us from doing the activities. Now, for many of my clients, I always say if you're going to be setting yourself goals, milestones, as we refer to them, for a particular day, do not set yourself more than 5 milestone goals in a day. 5 milestone goals. And the reason for that is you can actually break those down into whether they're an hour, hour and a half segment, which will give you that 5 to 8 hours in a particular day. Anything more than that, well, you're going to be getting to that burnout stage, which is, we don't really want to do that. The 6th one that I want to talk about is when we start to plan our particular day, we get to this point where there's so many tasks that we have in our hands and we want to do all of them. And by doing all of them, there are certain activities and tasks that actually, it's not related to us. It's not going to help us to move us closer to our goal. It has to be done. We agree with that. It has to be done. However, this could be handed over to somebody else. And that becomes this, oh my gosh, can I give away control? And really where we underline this is it's the failure to delegate. You see, we pull on too much onto ourselves. And by doing every little mundane particular task, we can actually overload ourselves with unproductive activities. And remember, productive activity moves you closer to your goal. So remember that. That's why goal is so important to have the clarity. So we actually forget that we can actually rely on the support that's around us. So for many of my clients, they actually want to do everything. I say, that's great. Let's break it down into 2 columns. Column 1 moves you closer to your goal. Column 2 moves you away from your goal. Identify all those activities, and we then spread them all out. Those goals or those activities that moves us away from our goal, let's delegate them. Let's give them to somebody who can do them on our behalf. You see, when we start to give them to somebody that can do them on our behalf, it actually is going to start to free up the time for us to focus on those activities that moves us closer to our goals. So that is one of the big things. We fail to delegate. And it drives me to the point of going, do you really want to do something which just is going to crush you? Because you're going to be so busy by the end of the day, you're going to burn yourself out and then wonder why you haven't achieved your particular goal. So how can you actually delegate? Well, you can actually delegate to people like assistants, virtual assistants, etc. But there's a big but in this. If there's an activity that moves you closer to your goal, you can't delegate that to your virtual assistants or assistants. That is for you to do. So there's the big but in all of this. As much as you'd like to give everything away so that you don't have to do anything, well, that's not being productive and it's not going to get you closer to success. So do remember that you need to break it down to those 2 columns. You focus on what gets you closer to your goal and you delegate to what moves you away from your goal. That's absolutely important. Now, I know for a fact that we can use tools, as I mentioned earlier, we can use tools to help us to achieve certain productivity milestones. So tools, for instance, tools that would help you to manage your time with little alarm clocks, tools that can automate a process that allows you to send an email and it automatically then just drip feeds it on for the next 2 to 3 weeks. These are fantastic types of tools. However, we can actually get into a tools paralysis where we want to find an automated tool for everything. And ultimately what we're doing is we're trying to make ourselves more efficient by doing less. And we want to use a tool to actually insert it, to basically do that task for us. Now, what can actually happen with that is we spend too much time trying to perfect the tools, trying to perfect the process, the automation, that we actually don't get around to doing the actual task itself. So how do we go about selecting our tools? And this is the 7th one that I want to share with you, is the automation tools. You see, automation tools, as I said, they're very good. But when you pick up an automation tool to help you with something, I actually say you actually have no more than 1 hour. And in that 1 hour, this is for you to learn the tool and to implement the tool. If you find that you're spending more than 1 hour to get it implemented and understanding how it actually operates, that tool is not ready for you. You are not geared to use that particular tool. It's going to start to burn away your time, and ultimately, you're not going to get productive out of it at all. So look at tools. They are there to assist you. However, if it takes you more than 1 hour to set up that particular tool to help you with automation, etc., that's not the right tool for you. And it shows that that particular tool was not written to assist you. It was written for somebody else. So look at those tools and make sure that you're only using tools that you can implement at the snap of a finger, and away you go. One of the easiest tools, a digital calendar. It doesn't take you anything to set up. It's connected. It's on your phone. You add your appointments. You put your reminder. Bang. It's done. It's quick. It's simple. So make sure that you're actually using tools that are quick and easy to use, that will actually help you when you're actually moving forward. It's absolutely imperative. Now, the next one is, and this is really, it's the 8th one that I want to share with you. And this is what we call perpetual perfectionism. You know, I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs around the world, and one of their things is they want to be the best of the best. They want to improve themselves. They want to improve their companies. And I am 100% in support and agreement of that. However, when their business starts moving forward, they start to want to perfect certain processes. They want to start perfecting the way their logo looks. They want to perfect their branding. They want to perfect all of the distractions that are around them. They want to make them perfect so everything fits together. When they do an activity, they want to perfect it. So what do? They start doing research on how to do it better. How can I improve on my script? Well, the only way that you can improve on a script is by doing the actions and doing them over and over again so that it becomes internalized. You see, we spend so much time wanting to perfect something that there's actually an underlying reason. The reason why we want to perfect it is because we don't want to do it. That's one of the simple truths that I've actually come around. When I have my clients, they just say, but I want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. The truth of it is they don't want to do the activity. They're excited to do the activity. They're excited to get the outcomes. However, they're not excited to actually physically do it. So they want to perfect it. And perfection, in fact, when I break it down, is they're just looking for a way to make it easier to do. That's all it really is. They would just want to make it easier to do so that they actually don't have to do it. So don't get into this perpetual perfection. You know, a rough diamond is probably one of the most beautiful things you'll ever see, because out of it will come that glistening, perfect diamond. So you need to start where you are and just going ahead. And ultimately, you're going to create perfection through your actions. So it's progress over perfection. So make sure that you're actually embracing those imperfections in your business, because it's going to become perfect over time. Now, the ninth one that I want to share with you, and this one here is something that really it's ignoring these boundaries. And the boundaries is this balance between work and life. What we tend to do is we spend too much time at work, or we spend too much time in our personal life, and we don't have these boundaries set down. These particular boundaries are so important, because work, it generates our income. It's about profitability. That profitability, the money you make, it then supports your personal life and allows your personal life to relax, rejuvenate, and go out and enjoy the world. Because when you're doing that, your body gets more energy, you feel more positive. You take that more energy, that positive, back into your professional life, and you're running at your A game. So there is this little cycle, but you've got to have these boundaries, and setting these boundaries of what time do I start, what time do I finish? How long do I actually spend on a particular activity? I need to make sure that I'm not burning myself out, make sure that I'm not crossing over into my personal life, because when you start having negatives in either work or in your personal life, they start to affect each other. And it's so important to create this healthy work-life balance. So ignoring these boundaries of, I'm going to need to work until 1 o'clock in the morning, that particular boundary that you've crossed is the boundary of you relaxing and re-energizing your body. All that's going to happen the next morning, you're going to wake up tired, and you're not going to be playing at your A game. And that could be the point where you need to really put in the maximum amount of energy into whatever activity that you're going to do. And you could start making errors. So make sure that you're setting these boundaries and understanding, are you going to be working Monday to Friday? Are you going to be working on Saturdays and Sundays or on weekends? Are you going to be working on bank holidays and public holidays? Are you going to start early in the morning? Are you going to be starting late or finishing late? What is those boundaries that you need to set up? It really, these boundaries give you these guidelines that helps you to start moving forward. And this leads me on to my 10th and the final. And really the last one is, it's the lack of focus on self-care. And self-care is really crossing over. Productivity, we always gear productivity towards our professional life. And we We focus on it all the time. We push ourselves. We want to achieve at the highest possible level. But we actually start to have this lack of focus on ourselves. And when we actually start to, as I mentioned, when we start to cross that boundary level, our boundary line, and we start to actually do negatives on our self-care, ultimately, we're actually starting to degrade our body. And I'll use it as a hard word, degrading our body. But ultimately, you're going to start becoming weaker in your mind if you're not looking after your self-care. So self-care, there's a couple little things that you can do to help you to overcome that. The big one is creating these daily routines. And these daily routines are things such as, in the mornings, doing a bit of exercise, maybe going for a walk, having these mindfulness type of exercises, meditation, maybe just listening to some soft, light music, something of that basis, just to relax your mind in the meditation process. It's all about this downtime as well, so that you're not continually focusing on your productivity and your business. It's to make sure that you're actually regenerating and getting that energy back in your body so that you can move forward. And the last element of self-care is what you're eating. It's your hydration. It's all of these type of things. Because without that, you know what's going to happen? You're going to find that you're going to be getting into the point where your body is just not, it just doesn't have the energy to do what you need it to do. And when you get into that low state of energy, you start moving away from your productivity that's moving you close to your goal. You start moving towards your distractions. You start moving towards those activities that are light. You start listening to those influences more as entertainment than education. And ultimately, you're sitting there wondering why I'm not achieving those goals and those high levels of successes that I've wanted. So today, it was all about seeing how you can overlook all of the, call it the distractions, the negative productivities. Because remember this, and I've said this in the beginning, productivity, so it's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. This is Stuart signing off until next time. Keep it simple, keep it real, and let's conquer those productivity pitfalls together.